Hi, I'm Taylor, and I want to talk a little bit about wakers, tiny bit about savers. These are all part of the Yamuna system, and I'm using this to teach this course called Hands, Feet, and Face Foundations. So lucky for me, I've got Howard's foot here, and what I just want to talk about when people come in. Uh, I'm so sought after for this footwork that we do. It is so wonderful. And people will usually come in and they'll talk about their pain. So they'll say, my person has told me I've got plantar fasciitis. Very commonly they'll say, then they gave me an orthotic and I'm working on it, and I'm also looking at maybe a bunion. So that means that that bone at this big toe has kind of gone off. So instead of having the toe straight, the weight has gone into this and the bones have gone awry. The other thing is they oftentimes will say, I've been told I have a neuroma. And what that means is this part of the arch has started to collapse. And there's possibly one or two areas where the nerves get pinched. And every step a person takes is excruciating. So I don't mean to be laughing at that, but it's just one of those things where you cannot pretend that everything is okay when you have pain every time you take a step. So as I hold Howard's foot here, I just want to show you this. If you've ordered these wakers and you've got them and you're now watching this video and going, how do I use them? Just know the course is going to show you some of the pieces as far as the architecture. I just want to show you really quickly the kinds of things that we want to be working on when we see a person coming in with pain and they're wanting to help themselves. Very often the arch, I'm going to say the medial arch in the middle, the lateral arch on the outside, and this transverse arch are not functioning well. And as I do this, you can see once I let Howard's foot drop down to the floor, you can see why it wouldn't feel like he can get that nice movement, or why the person who's having these fallen arches can't get that nice movement in their feet anymore. So if what's happened is due to faulty walking patterns, due to faulty gait, which means it's one foot in front of the other, how your body moves, due to injury, or sometimes it's heredity and it's a type of tissue that we're born with. I tend to be very, very flexible. I see people, they come in and see me and they're very, very tight. So if things aren't meshing in your body and you're trying to figure out how to walk around the pain and it's continuing to get worse, what you can do is you can start with these foot wakers and start with these 26 bones in your feet and take a look at opening up really from the plantar or from the bottom side of the foot. As you do this, what we want to make sure that you're doing is that you take a look at the structure from the feet all the way up. So it's not just the feet. So if what's happening is you've been walking from your heel and you tend to have a little bit of a knee thing. Can you see I'm just moving Howard's knee to the midline? And you tend to walk to that big toe, heel to the big toe. Here's what I also see really commonly. There's a big callus on the bottom of this part of your foot and you walk from heel right to the callus and you push there. Very often what's happening is you're using this part of the foot, the part of the structure that's meant to be an actual arch, supposed to be lifting off the floor, and instead you're putting that weight and you're pressing down. So as I'm doing this kind of imaginary walk here with how you can see, walking to the big toe, not using this outer side of the foot, letting that ankle collapse, letting the knee collapse, it's all part of the pain that might be going on in the foot. So first things first, even before I get to see you, this is something that you can start working on. You can touch your heel, touch and tell anatomy. You can touch the bone right above the heel. It's called a talus bone. If you're part of the course that's coming up, you can just know I'm going to have all the anatomy charts, and then we're going to be working through this touching and telling all this anatomy. This bone on this outer side, this very long fifth metatarsal from the back to the front, is a bone that I will speak about on a lot, not just on occasion. And these big cuboid bones as well. Oftentimes people come in and say, oh, I've got these lovely high arches. And I'll say, you know what, along with high arches, what that means is all these cuboid bones, they're all stuck together. And there's this congestion, so they are no longer able to articulate and move. And so that means that the articulation is kind of like when I move my hand and I have freedom of movement between the bones. If these bones aren't free, what's going to occur is everything's going to walk kind of like that. So what we would do, using my model of Howard on here, is we would free up the heel. So if I just hold the rest of Howard's bones and you can see like you have x-ray eyes, If I lift the toes up and then I reach those toes forward, you can see that the pivot that's occurring is basically we're using this top of the dome like a fulcrum, and we can actually make space from the bottom of the foot, and we can separate all of these bones forward. So you can see I've got little elastics holding all of Howard's foot together. I had him built this way so that we were able to see it visually. And as we walk from the heel, the next part that I would say is you're going to bring that waker not straight onto the heel, but just in front of the heel. And this is the back edge of the fifth metatarsal. So this fifth metatarsal, think about this, when a monkey climbs up a tree to get the bananas, what they're using is they're using that fifth metatarsal to grab and grip onto the tree trunk. We want to do that same thing. We want to get some mobility here. So I'm going to say, bring that waker. So if you've got these and you've got it on the floor, it's like, where does she want me to take it? Right on the outer side, so the fifth and the fourth toe. If you slide your fingers right along from the fifth and the fourth to the back, you're going to see that I'm saying take that right there and then do that same rocking motion. And then once you've got that rocking motion where you're lifting the toes up and rocking forward, then you're going to do that same thing on the outer side of that fifth. You're going to tuck that toe under from the heel. You're going to reach those toes all the way forward. So if what's happening is you have been watching some of the other videos and you've got like, oh, there she is sitting in a chair getting the ergonomics right. This is basically the line that we're working right straight through this outer. And then finally, with the foot completely on the floor, we're going to still keep working just this outer edge, which means that these two toes, the fifth and the fourth toe, will come right up onto the side of the waker. Now, Howard's lucky. This is just elastic bands. If you're super tight, if you pull on this toe and it's like a ringlet and the toe seems very, very short and kind of spiraling, when you start lifting it up and putting it onto the edge, you see what's happening? As soon as you do that, you're going to take your foot and your whole leg into this pattern where you're into the weaker side. So when I lift him up like this, you might say, hey, I can see there's a reason I might need a smaller device to work that outer edge, these smaller edges of the toe, so that when I do this lift and the drop, it's going to work more effectively for me. And the other thing is with this harder, smaller saver, foot saver, hand saver, when you get on to and do the same kind of moves, we're able to then feel more of the bone stimulation. You'll be really amazed at how deep a release you can get with these savers. And then as you work down, you can actually get the placement bone by bone from the heel all the way to the toes. Now, 26 bones, that's a lot of bones. It may seem arduous when you first start out to just go, she's just telling me just to do that outer side. What we're trying to do is we're trying to strengthen the musculature. We're trying to get the bone, can you see me curving that bone down? We're trying to get the bone so they're going to be able to work. And if what's been happening is if you've been having this great collapse, going back to that original place, if you've been having this great collapse in your foot where you're walking heel, big toe, or heel right into the callus and pushing off, then what happens is you're going to start seeing from the foundation everything starting to collapse further up the line. So much when I talk about architecture in the body, and I'm talking about like the foundations of your house, if you don't have things in order and things aren't working, if you're like Howard and you've got all these toes that are turning to hammer toes and they're pushing off in the wrong direction, if you've got a big bunion and they want to give you a nice cut and they're going to tell you how they're going to fix you up, just know that the next surgery usually will be because you've lost the arch and then the nerves are getting pinched. So it's great to go for surgery when you need it. If you haven't had it yet, just know that this work is quite miraculous, working on the feet, working on the hands, working on the head and face. We've had people turn things around. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes and gotten the reports back from the people with my own ears, I hadn't heard it myself, I'd be like, this is crazy. How can this be? So if you're curious, if you want to try something that's a little bit weird, looks weird, but everybody's kind of raving about it who tries it and does it, we stick with it because it's a proactive approach to building your foundations, because truly, just like the aging of a house, as we start aging in our bodies, nothing is perfect. And so the more that we can do to open, educate, and get this internal awareness from the inside out, the more that we're going to be able to help self-repair ourselves. So if you want to know more, give me a shout. I'm around. These courses that are going on, they are also, they're live, and I'm saying also they're in a library. And so what you can do is you can get the libraries of the pre-recorded videos like this. You can come in and you can see the kinds of classes, people getting to ask questions and answers. I ask for people to bring in and send me pictures of their structure. And we can do special one-to-one personal sessions so that you get custom specific exercises for what you need to do. So rather than belabor this anymore, if you've got the Wakers already, give that a try. See how it feels to get your feet onto them. And know that we will typically get to a point where we can do the standing, and then we add all that movement onto it. Start in a chair, add on to the standing, can lean against the wall, and then as you start moving through your life, you're going to feel lighter, you're going to feel easier, you're going to feel younger. And let's not have any pain on every step that we take. Thanks so much for watching.